if people see who lives down here and why they're here and what their backgrounds are, I think we're going to get a very different response. A lot of people here are the sort of people, they do not want to be noticed in the wider world, and especially when at the moment the media is coming along and saying, these sort of people, these bludgers, why do they think they should be given a leg up when I've got to pay my mortgage and things like that? And I guess we're trying to humanise the issue, show the people that live here, and explain something about why we think they've really got a right to stay here. These are some of the ones we harvested from the oral history that the Department of Housing commissioned about a decade ago, and that sort of gave us a form for all of the other ones. So we thought, look, we'll build on that. There's 50 stories already.
This has been a process that John's been working on for quite a long time, and I think he envisaged that we'd have 100 stories to present the face of the people who've been here, because the media presents a different story.
Look, Chris, we're up to the stage now of doing these stories on you, and I've just finished this one on Ellie Burns and coming to High Street. Look, in your case, we've got a couple of photos. I want us to choose. I think the one I like the look of best, it's quite a sort of cheery photo.
People were a little bit shy at first of coming and having their photograph taken. That's taken a fair while for John to get over that trepidation that people had, and then asking them to write a story. And to write a story, they actually had to revisit the anguish that they've experienced because of the minister's letter saying, moving to your new home. And some people are good at writing about how they feel about that, and that was sort of empowering for them.
I came here when I was 22, 42 years ago, and went to the local pub, and 3 old lags took me under their wing. Fantastic, got to know so many people in the area, just became part of the community. It was just wonderful. My wife came here and she walked up the cut.
Oh, yeah.
And in 1958, walked up the cut and went, am I going to live here? This is wonderful. And she just couldn't believe that she was going to live here.
Right, so that's a fabulous story. And look, I've got some photos of Fort Street, a whole panorama virtually of 1961. So this is the Fort Street she would have come to. And one of the things I really like about this is all the windows and doors are open. It's an open, friendly place.
Well, do you know, until recently, our last few years, I suppose, 10 years, we never closed our back door. Yeah. It was never closed. Yeah. At night, 24 hours, our back door was open.
It's like a little country town. That's the amazing feeling about right in the middle.
Well, the police say this is the safest area in Sydney. We've got friends, neighbours, relatives, all living together in harmony. It's just a wonderful thing. And a community takes decades, generations. I wrote to the Herald 20, maybe 30 years ago. I said, this is a unique village in the heart of a metropolis. It's totally unique.
This is the story about our house, this one, about the early people who actually built it. And then we've also got a list of all the people who've lived in it since then.
And this house never went over to housing. It was squatted, it was empty, and then it was sold on. And so that's how we bought it and have begun the restoration work ourselves. This was fabulous to have Reg Mombassa do an artwork especially for our fight for Millers Point. This wonderful support comes sort of widely, but we've come along here, and what we're going to do is, on here I've just gridded it up, and I've started, it's going to have the poster in 2.5 metre high painted here. I've just started the gridding up of it, and then we've got our stories of the various people from the social history, and it's also advertising our spring picnic. So there's ways of just making these little snapshots that are going to go at the moment just here. Soon we'll start putting them a bit more widely, and for the picnic we're hoping to cover Millers Point with lots of copies of them. So there's things for people to read, interesting stories, but also humanising the whole area, so that people might feel like they've met the people of Millers Point by coming to our picnic.
So this is the house that sold last night for, what was it, 2.56, which is an amazing amount of money, considering you're going to have to put between $500,000 or $1 million into the restoration of it. So Millicent and Marcia, who lived in this house and are now in Windmill Street. They've moved to a smaller residence, so I'm not sure how they'll feel about that.
The heritage of the area grabs you, but then it's the people that really absorb you.
Yes.
It's that a love for the stone and mortar, but it's the people that make it very special. They didn't approach us to move, we approached them.
You approached them?
Yes, basically, because the writings on the wall, the government had said that they were looking to make some cash to put back into maintaining the houses in Millers Point. So Mill said to housing, look, we want to stay here. Obviously, we're so much involved in the community, but we're happy to move out because this is a big house and the government could make a lot of money. And so we moved out and they sold it 2.5 years later.
What does that do to you when you think, like, you've tried in every which way to do the right thing, and it's almost like, doesn't matter what your approach was, you're all just going?
The thing is that you can't escape from reality.
Yes.
That
Right.
But yes, politics exist.
Yes.
Governments will do things for their reasons.
Yes.
I would have more respect for the minister's point of view if the minister had been seen in this area and had seen the people in situ, had come and talked, had walked around. We're, I'm sure, very happy to guarantee that no one would actually bite her.
Do you want to tell me something about the yellow ribbons and what they're about?
Well, it was funny because we talked about it, didn't we? Having putting up posters and ribbons, and it's such a bright and cheerful and positive colour that we picked yellow and took it from there.
I always picture my mother in a house like this and how I would do everything to protect her. And I think it's probably the school teacher in me that can see if you don't take care of your elderly, if you don't respect them and support them when they're in danger, this could be you know, this could happen to any of us. And you get to a certain age where you think the things that you value, you have to stand up for them and fight. You know, so, and people in the community are fighting in different ways.
When we first moved in, I didn't have a lot of money. When you lay in your bedroom upstairs on the first floor, you were on a similar level with the trees across the road. Now in those trees, there used to be an enormous number of bats, and at night I'd go to bed tired and thinking, oh, how am I going to cope with this? And outside there'd be the bats, and they'd be courting one another or fighting or carrying on. It was all very family and domestic and cheerful, and the bats got me through. It was all a little community of its own in the middle of the city. So the houses are, and this area is more complicated than you'd ever think.